What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions, as we have talked about many times in the past, have had a very eventful offseason filled with a lot of change, a lot of role replacement, and a lot of new players entering and exiting the building. Now, with that being said, I believe the Detroit Lions have had a very, very successful offseason, whether it be from the coaching perspective, the talent perspective, or any other front office, any other moves or, pieces, I guess, of the offseason that you may want to grade. However, I don't think the offseason is quite done yet. Although the flashy parts of the offseason are over, although free agency frenzy and the NFL draft are over, the Detroit Lions do currently sit with quite a bit of cap space left, with very few rookies left to sign and a lot of free agents still on the market that could be impact players in 2021. Now, with that being said, today we're going to be taking a look at 4 free agents that are currently on the market, 4 unrestricted free agents, guys that the Brad Holmes could call up right now and potentially offer a roster spot for them on this Lions team. Now, with all that being said, and without any further ado, let's get right into these players and looking at 4 potential free agents the Detroit Lions could look to target in the coming weeks. Now, Todd Gurley, of course, is a guy that is mentioned along with the Detroit Lions. He's been mentioned over the past couple of weeks as being a potential signee for the Detroit Lions. We talked about him a little bit in the news and rumors yesterday, so I'm not going to talk about Todd Gurley specifically today, but I did want to mention him as he is kind of the big rumor right now surrounding this Lions team. Now, for me, the Detroit Lions have 2 glaring needs for this team. They have 2 positions that they could really seriously look to address before the start of the preseason. Now, those 2 positions are safety and linebacker, 2 positions that went into the offseason as weaknesses, positions that have been addressed slightly, but I think could still be addressed a little bit more before the start of training camp and before the start of the preseason. Now, with that being said, today we have 2 safeties and 2 linebackers, all 4 guys I think can make the active roster, all 4 guys I think can have big impacts on the active roster, and all 4 players I think could be potential starters and big time role players for this Lions team come 2021. Now, starting off with the first free agent of this video, I wanted to take a look at the safety position. As I said, I have 2 safeties in today's video, both of whom I think could make the roster and actually could earn and snag a starting spot for that second strong safety position alongside Tracy Walker. Now, the first player that I wanted to take a look at today was Malik Hooker. Now, Malik Hooker is only 27 years old. He is a safety, former top 15 selection out of the Ohio State University by the Indianapolis Colts. Now, with that being said, Malik Hooker is an incredibly talented safety, standing at 6'1", 215 pounds. As I said, being a former top 15 pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. Now, Malik Hooker's talent is undeniable. In his first couple of seasons with the Indianapolis Colts, he played in 35 games where he totaled over 124 tackles, coming up with 7 interceptions, 11 passes defended, as well as 2 fumble recoveries. Now, Malik Hooker's only real problem in the NFL is that he is not the healthiest player. He's a guy that missed a lot of time his rookie season and I believe only played in 2 games a season ago. However, in 2018 and in 2019, his 2 sophomore and junior season respectively, he did play in 14 games in 2018 as well as playing in 13 games in 2019. So he has proven that he can stay healthy for an NFL season, although it's not guaranteed. Although he has not shown he can play 16 games, he has shown in the past that he is going to be available and that he can be available for 13 to 14 games, which at that point, especially for a Lions team that has struggled with a lot of roster injury and has struggled with a lot of players missing significant time in the NFL season, a player that misses 2 games a season, 2 to 3 games a season is not necessarily the worst case scenario for the Detroit Lions. Malik Hooker is, as I said, only 27 years old. He is relatively young. He should not cost a lot of money. He is kind of a lesser known, or I guess lesser prioritized free agent, is a guy that again has shown a lot of production and a lot of potential and talent when he's on the field. His only problem being that he cannot consistently stay on the field for the Indianapolis Colts. I believe Malik Hooker could start at that second safety spot. I believe him and Tracy Walker would be a really good borderline elite safety duo, especially deep down the field, especially deep in coverage. Malik Hooker does have elite sideline to sideline speed. He does have that speed to be a deep fielding free safety, and Tracy Walker again has the speed and size as well to be a really good free deep ball hawk kind of safety that can just go up and take away the football. I believe if Malik Hooker was signed to the Detroit Lions, he plays free safety. I think Tracy Walker could play more of a strong safety role, but still leave him back in coverage more than your traditional strong safety. Almost play a too high safety set a majority of the time. That would leave the Detroit Lions with a really good secondary and leave the Detroit Lions defense in a really, really good position, as both Tracy Walker and Malik Hooker all are ball hawks. They take the ball away, and it would leave opponents' offenses with really limited ability to pass deep on the Detroit Lions, which is something they have struggled with over the past couple of years throughout the Quinn Tricia era. I think Malik Hooker would be a phenomenal pickup for the Detroit Lions. He's young, he's talented, and he is not going to be very expensive. All three things seem to fit the mold of what Dan Campbell is looking at. And if you want to look at a fourth aspect, he is extremely athletic as well. Continuing at the safety spot, the second safety that I wanted to take a look at today was actually more of a veteran safety, the 30-year-old Kenny Vaccaro, formerly of the Tennessee Titans as well as the New Orleans Saints. Now, Kenny Vaccaro to me is more of a traditional strong safety. If you wanted kind of a more box safety, a guy that can make plays around the box and a guy that can make more plays in the run, then Malik Hooker. Now, Kenny Vaccaro, as I said, is 30 years old. Has played in 109 games for a multitude of teams. He's played in a multitude of systems, has played in multiple styles, multiple teams throughout with multiple coaching staffs and multiple different players and schemes around him. Now, Kenny Vaccaro in his 109 games has totaled over 610 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and 10 interceptions. As I said, he is experienced. He's played in a lot of different systems and has played in a lot of different defensive scheme, so he should be pretty versatile, and I do believe he actually played for the New Orleans Saints not that long ago, meaning he does have some connection with Aaron Glenn as well as Dan Campbell, both of whom, of course, are former coaches from that New Orleans Saints coaching tree. As I said, Kenny Vaccaro, experienced player, very talented player, does take the football away a lot, a guy that could be more of your traditional strong safety role, a guy that has played multiple years in the NFL, is a longtime veteran of the NFL, and I think one thing that Kenny Vaccaro does very well that Malik Hooker is a little bit less efficient at is his tackling ability. Kenny Vaccaro misses very few tackles, as in 2018 he had just a 6.5 missed tackle percentage, and in 2019 he actually had just a 4.5 missed tackle percentage. So he's a versatile do-it-all safety who tackles well, who covers well, that can really fill any role you need him to for the Detroit Lions, and could step in pretty much day one as a full-time starter for this Detroit Lions roster. Either of the two safeties I think could be big for this Detroit Lions team. Personally, I would like to see Malik Hooker in the Detroit Lions uniform. I'd like to see Malik Hooker here before Kenny Vaccaro, just being younger, a little bit more athletic, a little bit more explosive, and I think him and Tracy Walker as deep fielding safeties in a two high safety set would be so much fun to watch for this Lions secondary. However, Kenny Vaccaro is a very good option as well. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of the video that the Lions are also potentially looking for linebacker depth and linebacker talent, and I do believe there are two linebackers on the free agent market right now that are unrestricted free agents that could potentially not only be signed by the Lions but also be starters and get significant playing time this year for the Lions if given the opportunity. Now, the first player is a guy that we have actually talked about before in former Buccaneer and Saint as well as San Francisco 49er linebacker Quan Alexander. Now, Quan Alexander is pretty young. I believe he is just 27 or 28 years old. It is one of the two, but he is relatively young for the linebacker position. He's played in 66 games throughout his career, as I said, with Tampa, with New Orleans, as well as San Francisco. In those 66 games, he has totaled over 471 tackles for 8.5 sacks, 36 tackles for loss, 9 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and 7 interceptions. He is an experienced veteran, a guy that, as I mentioned, played in New Orleans a couple of years ago, so does have that connection with Dan Campbell and does have that connection with Aaron Glenn, two guys, again, former Saints coaches, players or coaches of that Saints coaching tree that have worked with these guys before. Quan Alexander does have that connection with Dan Campbell. Everybody loves playing for Dan Campbell, so I couldn't imagine that Quan Alexander's experience was that much different. If the Lions were looking for linebacker talent, if they were looking for linebacker help, Quan Alexander is probably the best linebacker left on the market right now. A guy with a connection to Dan Campbell, a leader, a veteran, a playmaker in both coverage and in the run game, a guy that can tackle well and really is a versatile do-it-all linebacker that could step in day one and probably arguably be the most talented linebacker in this entire core. With that being said, I think for the right price and for the right contract, I would love to see Quan Alexander wearing a Detroit Lions uniform come 2021 and potentially looking to get a little bit of revenge in week 1 versus his former team. And then, of course, the last free agent that we will talk about today, the last linebacker that I found, or I guess the second linebacker that is on the free agent market that could be a good fit for Detroit, is Avery Williams, the former Tennessee Titan, New York Jet, and Pittsburgh Steeler. Now, as I said, Avery Williams is a veteran linebacker, I believe 29 or 30 years old, so a little bit older than Quan Alexander, but a guy that is experienced, a guy that is a veteran, and a guy that has been around the NFL. Avery Williamson has played in 85 games in his NFL career, some of those being for Tennessee, some of those being in New York, and some of those being for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, in those 85 games, Avery Williamson has totaled over 607 tackles for 29 tackles for loss, 15 and a half sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 17 passes defended, as well as 4 interceptions. Now, Avery Williamson is, I think, a little less talented than Quan Alexander. I think he's a little bit less explosive. He's a little bit older than Quan, but I do think that Avery Williamson would bring leadership. He would bring a more veteran presence. Of course, you have Jamie Collins as your veteran, but this linebacking core is pretty thin. It is pretty young. You know, Jalen Reeves-Maybin is young. Alex Anzalone is pretty young. Derek Barnes is a rookie. Jelani Tavai is just a 30-year player. This linebacking core is relatively young, so if the Lions are looking to bring in leadership or veteran players, a veteran mentality, and guys that can kind of pick up on a system a little quicker, Avery Williamson could be the guy that they're looking for. He's an under-the-radar free agent, a guy that is not getting a lot of buzz, a guy that is not getting a lot of hype, but a guy that, as you can see, has been very productive throughout his NFL career, and a guy that could step in day one and have a big role for the Lions. Now, with all that being said, those are my top 4 free agent targets for the Detroit Lions as of right now. As I mentioned, the Detroit Lions have $19 million, or just under $19 million left in cap space, with just 3 rookies left to sign, those being Derek Barnes, Amon-Ra St. Brown, as well as Afeti Melifonwu. Now, those are 3 mid-round players, so the cap hit should not be significant. It should not be huge or detrimental for any of those players, so the Lions should be left with a little bit of play room, a little bit of cap space to go out and sign maybe 1, if not 2, bigger free agents that are still within the market that, as I said, can have huge impacts for this team come 2021. But with all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments, what free agent of these 4 would you like to see wearing the Honolulu blue? What free agent would you absolutely avoid if you were Brad Holmes? And let me know what you think about all 4 of these guys down in the comments below. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time, and as always, of course, go Lions!